the dreadlocks' significance in different cultures in their ancient traditions.
In society, we can see it being represented as wealth, poverty, war, peace. That was the sacred hairstyle. If you Google dreadlocks, you got the gamut of everybody. When I got into this business, there was no professional side to having your hair put into locks.
What's the history of headlocks?
So you're referring to them as headlocks. So that's really great because, okay, so let's talk about the etymology a little bit first. Yeah. When I started in this industry, there was barely a Google, okay? But if you were to look on the internet, if you search the word dreads, you saw actually predominantly white people. If you Googled the word locks, you got predominantly people of color. And if you Googled dreadlocks, you got the gamut of everybody. And then there's other words in other tribes and other parts of the world, Jattas, Congos, Bongos. So the popularity of what to call them has been a point of contention on social media for some time. But headlocks, that's cool. Or hair locks, which actually a friend of mine, that's her company name, is Hairlocks. It's something that is so much deeper than just a hairstyling service, obviously. And when I got into this business, there was no professional side to having your hair put into locks. And so I will use the word locks as a default, and then listen to my client and how they refer to them. And on social media and so forth, I default locks, but the word dreads can even be spelled with an EA or just an ED. Yeah, I kind of went on a tangent.
You were talking about ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
The dreadlocks' significance in different cultures in their ancient traditions.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to go on a little bit of another segue, but when we talk about the history of locks, I think it's pretty known to people that it spans across the entire world since the beginning of history, since the beginning of humans. And then you can get into the argument of who started it and where was it popular and, why people do have this hairstyle and what it means today in today's culture, cultural appropriation, all of these conversations around this hairstyle that can be very controversial. It can be very spiritual. It's not a conversation to be had as a white person in context of a person of color explaining why white people shouldn't have dreadlocks. I find that when I see on social media a white person saying, well, the Vikings had dreadlocks, it's like, oh, but you missed the point. Because in context, what we're talking about here is the importance of this hairstyle culturally within a particular group, a minority, a group of color. So they don't need to know that the Vikings had dreadlocks. That's irrelevant to the conversation. You're making it about yourself again, when in fact all that needs to be done here is to listen and to validate, because this is also a sacred hairstyle that some people will not let anyone touch their head. That's the crown for a reason. And so for me to be in this job, I have elevated my respect of what this style really means to people and being more cognizant, being more conscious of that. Did I answer your question?
Roundabout.
The Egyptians. So the Egyptians had that, you can see the style in the hieroglyphics, and their hair would be twisted with mud, and that was the sacred hairstyle that you would see, and that meant a sign of wealth. That meant a sign of pharaoh, right?
You were talking about pharaohs.
Yeah, and And so when you think about what does it mean in each culture, in society, we can see it being represented as wealth, poverty, war, peace. It can be people will have locks for practical reasons to describe where they come from, what tribe they're in. It's so fascinating how complex this one hairstyle is.